What up, YouTube? So, look, man, I was about to go to bed, and I couldn't sleep though. I was watching, just scrolling through videos and shit, and I couldn't sleep. So and I was coming across some shit, and it was crazy. So I decided to shoot a video. I said I'm gonna make me a smoothie, shoot a video, and so y'all can rock out with me while I do that. And I came across a couple videos that was real crazy. Like this whole thing, I don't know if you guys seen the situation going on out in Newark, New Jersey, at the ICE facility where the mayor got arrested. And it's some real crazy shit, right? So it's the mayor, a big back, an old house niggeress, and some big back. They got these sassy, big back, Negro bedwench congresswoman. They out there doing publicity stunts, getting arrested at the ICE facility, right? Total, total shit show, right? So, like, you don't see them doing all this for reparations for black people or some type of agenda for Negroes in America, right? But they out there doing all, jumping through, jumping over, razor fences for these immigrants, right? For these illegal immigrants. And so I'm watching the situation with Barack, with the mayor Barack, and Judge Joe Brown started talking about this dude and his father. Stand by. Let me grab my smoothie real quick. All right, I'm back, guys. Got my smoothie. Should try this. This is good. This is carrot, banana. I put a little cinnamon and coconut milk to make the smoothie. Nice power smoothie, right? Yeah, excellent. So back to this, man. Let me see. I'm trying to find a video, man. So they over in New Jersey. They performing at the ICE facility. Mind you, the whole immigration shit is total bullshit. The whole, like, Trump he's not deporting anybody. You know what I mean? Like, the whole thing from top to bottom is a total publicity stunt, right? When you look at what I mean is, when you go by the numbers, right? When you look at the numbers, on the paper, and look at the people he's deporting, it's nothing. It's a nothing burger, right? Total fucking nothing burger. So you had to ask yourself, why are they blown? What's this all about? It's a freak show, right? It's a total act. So anyway, they're over in New Jersey. They putting on this show, right? We're over here making sure these illegal immigrants get food and getting treated right, not mistreated. Blah, 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 blah. When do they ever go to the jail to see if black people is being mistreated? Do they ever go to city jails and prisons to see if black people is getting raped and, beaten to death and mistreated or whatever? I just saw a story a couple days ago about a black guy got beat to death in jail by like 6, 7 guards or whatever, right? But anyway, so I was watching, like I said, I couldn't sleep. I was laying down, I couldn't sleep. And I fell asleep and I woke up and couldn't sleep. So I figured I'd get up there and kick it with you guys. And so I saw this story, but I was kind of ignoring it. I was like, who gives a fuck about, these so-called liberals doing political stunts, right? But then I started watching I was bored, started watching a little bit of shit on that. And then I came across Judge Joe Brown, who was talking about the guy Barack. I'm gonna play a clip from it real quick. And how his father, was a famous poet who was also an informant for the government, who infiltrated the civil rights movement. So he was a famous poet, but he also worked, he was an informant for the government, right? And tells you a lot about these black politicians, right? And I didn't really want, well, I didn't really want my channel, to do this on this channel, but, I think, I call it the Drake report, so I might as well report, right? On some real shit, right? And so with Judge Joe, if what Judge Joe Brown said is true, it says a lot about these people and their lineage and the whole situation and who they are, right? And it's extremely interesting, right? Because it tells a lot about him. Let's play a clip real quick. Let me show you this situation.
It's a ICE detention facility. Everyone was comfortable. The place was clean, and individuals had access to phones and their attorneys. It basically was a clean facility. They don't have all of the access that they are entitled to, but they're kind of gearing up. We waited for over an hour.
Look at this big back.
Be addressed by ICE.
Right. Look at
Even
this
though
big
we had
back.
authority to be there, even though
Right
we
here.
wanted to make a tour. While we were in the waiting area, all of the ICE officials from the state of New Jersey at the highest levels came to the detention facility, and we thought it was to resolve our issue of taking the tour. So they came, they said hello, and the next thing we saw, they ran outside. We went outside, and we saw that the mayor was there. And the mayor was talking to them, to some of the ICE employees. He was invited inside of the gate to have the conversation. When we all got down there to the end, they told him that he had to go back into the public area where the protesters were, and he willingly, quiet, and respectfully
So that's
did
enough.
as they asked. While he...
So that's enough of that, right? So, some more of this smoothie. Banana, carrot, and cinnamon. This is excellent. We'll put a little coconut milk. So, yeah, so there you have it, right? So they down there going crazy at this ICE facility. Now, Baraka, the mayor, here's a kicker, right? Here's where the rubber meets the road, right? Particularly if you ADOS, FBA, you know what I mean? As far as your lineage, which I am, right? So this Baraka character, whose father, who I think I do remember his father, was, like this, famous poet. He wrote, and was affiliated with the civil rights movement, stuff like that. Was also if Joe Brown is correct, Judge Joe Brown, and he's usually a straight shooter, from my understanding. I never heard him putting out misinformation. He said that the dude's father was a FBI informant, but he was informant. He was a poet, but he also worked for the FBI to inform on civil rights groups, to basically give them information on what black people was doing in civil rights groups. Now he's the mayor. Now fast forward, his son is the mayor of Newark, right? Tells you everything you need to know. And he's not going to jail for black people. He's going to jail for illegal immigrants, right? Illegal immigration and all this shit, right? I mean, but if you look at a lot of these black cities where these black mayors are, it's horrible. Black mayors, governors, that shit is a nightmare. Lori Lightfoot and Brandon Johnson and, Houston or anywhere you go, it's a fucking nightmare for black people. New York City, right? You at the bottom. They at the bottom in all cities, at the economic strata in America. I mean, do we really have to debate that? The numbers speak for themselves. right? But they just show you these black politicians like Obama, and they show you these rich Negroes, while black people as a whole at the bottom, and then they bring these illegals in here and these immigrants and put them on top. So this dude, his father he comes from the lineage of a rat and a snitch and an informant and somebody who undermines their own people. Right? That's who that's who this guy is. And they don't come from thoroughbreds, right? Like me, I was raised up around thoroughbred dudes, right? And so I understand that concept, right? Like these dudes was raised up around, they come from a lot of these people, the leadership and shit now that black people have, right? You see, like, they come from a lineage of like confidential informants, snitches, rats. You know, you see them fighting for illegal aliens who fled their country, right? Another group of just like kind of like rat type people. You know what I'm saying? And what I mean is like for instance, the whole Congressional Black Congress, all that shit, you know, Barack Obama, these people are like sellouts. These are like sellouts. They come from the confidential informant class, right? For instance, like the Jesse Jacksons and Martin Luther King's photographer, he was, you know, these people were known to be working with the government. Even Andrew Jackson, who was the mayor, he said he knew that, but they was cool with that, the mayor of Atlanta. And you wonder why black people at the bottom in the United States. Because the whole political structure is a basically a sellout bourgeoisie informant class, right? And you wonder why things so bad. And people make fun of you. I don't like Marvin Gaines, you know. I don't want to be in the neighborhood with these niggers and all that. I come from Somalia, right? He talked down on black people and make fun of you and mock your, you know, your situation in America and make a mockery of you. He a Somalian immigrant. But they fled their country. And then they come over here and they make a mockery of black people. Whether they from African countries or, you know, Hispanic or Latin American countries, whatever, Asians, they come over here and make a mockery of you. While using civil rights laws and shit that you fought for. Where you couldn't flee. You didn't flee your country. And so I started thinking, I'm like, there's a connection here, right? When you look at the story of the guy Baraka in New Jersey, who comes from his father, who's a confidential informant on the civil rights movement, but also, you know, this so-called poet. And then you look at what he's doing now in supporting these illegal immigration and people that are really hostile toward black Americans, toward FBA ADOS, right? American Descendants of Slaves, Foundational Black Americans, whatever you want to call it, right? Most of these immigrant groups are extremely hostile. Extremely hostile. Take it from me, I won't lie to you. I'm giving you, you know, the real right now. I've been around them for dealing with them ever since, you know, day one. And they've always been extremely hostile. A couple of them, you know, cool here and there, but you know it is what it is. Most of it, a lot of that shit is fake. As Drake said in his song, fake love, right? They give you a lot of fake love, right? And then throw fire bombs in your house in Los Angeles and talk about you on secret tapes. So, but you start to notice, like, wait a minute, these people like Baraka, these politicians, Obama who bombed Libya, a black so-called Kenyan immigrant who bombs Libya, an African country, basically, not for who? Who did he do that for? Did he do it for black Americans? No, he did it for white people. right? Why else would you bomb an African country? You wouldn't be bombing it for black people. So you did it for white people to destroy other blacks or non-white people. Okay, got you. And you start noticing a pattern with these immigrants, like Barack Obama, Baraka. Fuck is up with these Baraka names, right? Total sellouts, right? All these Barakas is total fucking sellouts. Barack Obama, this dude Baraka in New Jersey, right? Total sellouts, and they come from a lineage of sellouts. You see, like Barack Obama, he come from some Kenyans. They probably was selling their own people. He come from a lineage of probably people that sold their own people, helped sell their people out in Africa, right? And he definitely, from what Joe Brown was saying, his father was working for the government against his own people in America. So you got a lineage and these people don't come from thoroughbreds. You see what I'm saying? Like Tupac, for instance, right? His mom. You know what I mean? These people don't come from thoroughbreds. You got a class of just sellouts and backstabbers and cutthroats that are now your political leadership. And you wonder why you're at the bottom in America. And you wonder why they fighting to put immigrants on top of you for white people. Not, you dig what I'm saying? They don't work for the black constituents that elect them, that they have fooled into thinking that they their friends and allies politically. Right? So it's one hell of a dilemma, if you black, you in between a rock and a hard place in America. And so then you look at the relation of these people to these illegal immigrants. Immigrants, period. Because black people not immigrants, right? If you ADOS FBA, you're not an immigrant. You come from a people that was kidnapped, genocided. You're a prisoner of war. You're the remnants of prisoners of war, right? Who found themselves in a land enslaved under apartheid, fighting for civil rights, all of that, right? While these motherfuckers are fleeing their country, coming here and talking about you, right? Being helped by the confidential informant class who is now the political class, right? The sellout house Negro class, right? Whatever you want to call it, you know what I mean? Who is now the political class. Your political class is not Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. They killed them. Stupid. They killed all them off and scared them off and killed them off or bought them off. Right? The John Lewis, these people sold out. Sold you out 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. So the political class is nothing but the remnants like Baraka who descend from sellouts. They descend from people who sold their people, right? This is who is so-called, the black faces up front. The illusion of inclusion. These are those people, right? They put them up front and they supposed to rule over. You can vote for them, right? And they done sold you out. And then they working with the immigrant class. You see, because if you ADOS, FBA, you're not an immigrant. You descend from prisoners of war. You're not no immigrant. They said, we all immigrants. Speak for yourself. FBA, ADOS, and American Indians are not immigrants. Stupid. Right? So you notice a coalition forming of the sellout immigrant class. Why? The illegal immigrants and even the legal immigrants. And unless they came from like England in 1989 where it wasn't shit going on, or like, Donald Trump's wife who was an immigrant, you know what I mean? Came from Romania in like 1982 or something. When there wasn't shit going on, but they just broke as hell or whatever, right? But most of these immigrants, they fled, right? In general, they just fled their countries. And these are not thoroughbreds. Like, they talking about they sending their best and their brightest. Get the fuck out of here. They just sending, these are just a bunch of sellouts and weak weasels who fled their country. When black people, you couldn't flee America. There wasn't nowhere to go. You had been here for hundreds of years, there wasn't nowhere to go. You gonna go fuck and deal with some Africans? In Africa? Well, you wasn't, where in the Bible do it say flee? You know what I mean? So you had to fight where you was at. You had to stand 10 toes down and start fighting right where you was at and build what you could build. While other people was fleeing to America, right? While all these immigrants fleeing to America, but not building and fighting in their own country, right? While the people in America was probably involved in the destabilizing of their country that they fled from. These are the people that come to your country. So they came to your country to cooperate with the people that destabilized their country and then talk shit about you if you black or, ADOS. And you can't be African American because Elon Musk is African American, right? He's a white man. You can't be African American because, Myron Gaines is African American, right? And he hate black Americans. He showed you that on Piers Morgan, right? I should play some of that. I just didn't want to make this too long, right? I might come back and do a part 2. But I want to, where Myron Gaines is Somalian. Everybody from Fresh and Fit, Myron Gaines. Unfortunately, you have to know him, right? And I want to talk about what's going on with Myron Gaines, the dude, what's his name? Marquette Devon, and then the dude from No Fugazi, right? I forgot his name. The one who said, don't date baby mothers and then marry some white woman who had 2 kids, right? Bunch of hypocrites. The internet is full of hypocrites and agents, and these people are agents. It ties into what I'm saying. I'm gonna talk about that. I'm gonna do a video about them dudes, man. Them dudes work for the government. Myron Gaines, the dude Marquette Devon from the Saint in the Center, and the dude from No Fugazi are government agents. They work for the government, right? They house plants on YouTube. There's a lot of that going on. Not to get off topic. I'm gonna do a video about that. But I'm gonna end on this. So you had to understand the connection between the political sellout informant class that now runs your, the Barack Obamas, the Baraka in New Jersey, the mayors, you know what I mean? These big back, black, sassy politician women, right? Where in the Bible does it tell you to make a woman your leadership? That's how you, like if you're a black man in America, you want to understand how you went wrong? Making women your leaders, women shouldn't be the leaders of anything. Particularly not your political organizations. Not nothing. The man, as a man, see, that's something that I didn't really learn when I was growing up. As a man, you're in charge of everything. The kids, the food, the cleaning the house, the money, whatever. You're in charge of everything. They tried to usurp power from a man. That's in the Bible. And that's where you went wrong. You let them do it. And I didn't realize this till I was older, right? Much, much older. After my family was destroyed, everything was fucked up. You're responsible for everything. Never put a woman in charge of anything. You know what a woman's job is? Whatever the fuck you tell her. End this story. You can say, yo, I'm gonna stay home, take care of the kids, the house, everything else. I need you to go work with this job and, bring in some money right now. I'm gonna stay home, take care of the kids, take care of the house. I'm gonna clean up, do the washing, cook, everything else, whatever. I might work from home. I want you to go out and work. I gotta, figure out something. Okay, then that's what she do. Ain't no traditional role. Her role is whatever you tell her to do. And if she don't cooperate with you, her role is get the hell out of here. And that's something I didn't understand when I was young, growing up, right? But my grandfather was like that. But he kind of didn't, verbalize the whole thing like that. I didn't understand that. He was very hands-on. And, I guess he just didn't communicate that in the way I'm communicating to you. So, especially if you're a young guy, you got kids, married, whatever, or you're thinking about it, relationships. But anyway, I digress. That's another topic. But anyway, so you should notice the connections between these groups of people. The political sellout, activist class, and then these illegal immigrants and these immigrants, the immigrant class. You see? They don't have any allegiance to you because these are not people that are bred from thoroughbreds. You know what I'm saying? Like when we was coming up, we had a term, you know what I mean? Called, niggas like, yo, that dude is thorough. He come from thoroughbreds, you know what I'm saying? He be hanging with a lot of thoroughbreds. Yeah, that dude's solid. Right, that, some shit we say on the street. These people don't come from thoroughbreds. The political class, right? They come from a bunch of wankers, a bunch of backstabbers, sellouts, clowns, coons, whatever. You know the drill. That's why they act the way that they do. The Myron gangs, shit like that. They come here, these immigrants, and they the same way. These immigrants is not coming from thoroughbreds. You understand what I'm saying? In a nutshell. Let me put it in street terms. They're not coming from thoroughbreds when they flee from their country. Because if they was thoroughbreds, they would be like you and your people and your grandparents who didn't have nowhere to go and just said, fuck it, we gonna get 10 toes down, right? And we gonna stay here and fight till Jesus come. Till Christ crack the sky with the ships. We gonna stay here and fight, right? If we go anywhere, it'd be on vacation. But we ain't running, right? But they ran from their country. They fled from their countries. For whatever excuse. I don't give a fuck what the excuse was. They said, oh, it was war. That don't mean shit to me. We've been here through the Revolutionary War, the transatlantic slave trade, the Revolutionary War, Civil War, World War I, World War II, and we're going to be here in World War III and IV because my grandfathers fought in all of those wars. My grandfather, John, right, and my pops fought in World War I and World War II. And I had an uncle who fought in the Asian Wars, Korean Wars, all that bullshit, right? So I don't want to hear no shit about, well, I fled because of war. Yeah, well, we was in war. We had wars too. And we had to stay here and fight right where we was at. You see, we was getting lynched and terrorized, right? And genocided by the tens of millions. But we still here, right? Waiting for those ships to crack the sky and salvation to come and God to save us from our enemies. You see? Which is a whole nother story. And so, but I was watching these stories and I just started thinking about that, right? The connection between when Joe Brown mentioned Baraka and his father being a rat and a sellout, and watching him go all out for these illegals and the whole, political class, these big back, sassy female politicians, right? And then watching all these, they fighting for these illegal immigrants more than they fight for black Americans. right? And I said, oh, intuition, right? My intuition kicked in, and I just started, my intelligence, my intuition kicked in, and I made the connection. I just started thinking. So I made the video. Just something to think about, right? To understand the connection between these two groups, how the synergy, right? The synergy between the black sellout class, right? The coon class, right? The bootleg class, and the illegal immigrants and the immigrant class. I don't care if they immigrants. I don't even care if it's illegal. I'm just talking about the immigrants in period. Look at Myron Gaines. He's horrible. Look at Candace Owens. She's an immigrant. She's horrible. They so-called legal immigrants. They're a fucking nightmare for black Americans. Right? And you notice the synergy between the two groups. You have to understand why they coming together. Because these people are not thoroughbreds. They come from like a bunch of lames. You see what I'm saying? They just like a lame class of people. They come from a weak, bitch-made class of people. You're not getting the best and brightest. It's not the best and brightest. You see? And so these weak weasels all coming together and forming like a weak weasel Voltron, right? It's a weak weasel Voltron that's forming in America. Why? Because the devil rewards sellouts and then destroys them. You see? And then destroys them. So, but this is something I was thinking about. Couldn't sleep, drinking my little smoothie. I'm gonna come back. I appreciate y'all rocking with me. If you rocked out with me on this, I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna do a video on Myron Gaines, that No Fugazi dude, and that dude from Saint and Sinner. I'm gonna do a video about them because the intuition was kicked in when I was watching them earlier in a video, and the dude was saying that Myron Gaines was his best friend, even though he was saying Myron Gaines was wrong about a lot of stuff he was saying about black Americans. He was saying Myron Gaines was his best friend. And I had to say, I'm thinking to myself, something don't make sense. But then a light bulb came on. I said, oh, these dudes, they house plants. These dudes they work for the agency, like Barack's father. They work for one of these agencies. That's why he's so tight with Myron Gaines. That's why he hanging out with these hypocrites and these liars while calling them out at the same time. I was like, oh. But anyway, I'm gonna do a video on that later, but I appreciate y'all rocking with me. I'll get with y'all on the next one later.